How are you doing today, Benoît?
Good. I'm fine, thank you.
My name is Shreya, and I'm a developer advocate for Courier, and I am also the founder of Bit Project, which is a global student organization that is dedicated to making technical education accessible to as many people as possible. We host this annual serverless camp, which happens usually during the summer, and the goal for that is really just to make sure that students have access to really good, like top tier serverless education. So it's like this 8-week boot camp, and we get mentors who are software engineers like you to come in and kind of provide a lot more industry experience when it comes to learning like how to code. It's one of those areas that are very important for a lot of software engineers, like learning to code with serverless, whether it's Azure, whether it's AWS. But it's something that I've noticed a lot of colleges and schools don't really ever touch on. So it's one of those skills that you really just have to learn when you're on the job and your boss tells you that you really got to learn how to do this for your job. So our goal is to make sure that as many people as we can have access to this education through this boot camp. They spend 4 weeks learning how to code in Azure, and then 4 weeks building their own project. So Benoît, before we get started with coding and kind of learning about what Azure is and not Azure, sorry, what AWS is, because we're going to take a different track today. Would you mind introducing yourself a little?
Sure, yeah. So my name is Benoît. I'm living in Barcelona currently, where I am a full stack, essentially serverless developer at Serverless Guru. And Serverless Guru is a company that focuses on building serverless technology applications for our clients. We mostly rely on serverless and AWS specifically, but I'm also a AWS community builder since last year, maintainer of a couple of plugins for the serverless community as well, especially with the serverless framework, which we will use today. And that's pretty much it about me.
That's really exciting. So congrats on becoming an AWS community builder. What's that experience been like for you?
Yeah, it's great actually. It's a really cool program where you can meet other people, like people about not only serverless but also cloud in general, and you can exchange ideas, learn from each other, and also get the opportunity to tell the world why cloud engineering and serverless is great, like today.
Yeah, I love the serverless community. I haven't interacted with as many people that work with AWS. I mostly have worked with Azure folks, but it's such a like education first and like people first community, which I absolutely love about it. What are there any responsibilities for being an AWS community builder?
Not really, but the goal is to, if you want to be part of it, the goal is to share, I don't know, it could be a blog, through Twitter, YouTube, whatever, share with the world why serverless and the cloud is great. And that's what I like about it, actually.
Yeah, yeah, that's really
And it's
awesome.
very small community as well. Serverless in general is very small, and we are maybe a couple thousand community builders globally. So yeah, it's great.
That's amazing. It's really good that it's a pretty inclusive community as well. What type of
Yes.
content do you build when it comes to serverless, or what type of projects do you like building?
It could be any project, basically, anything that relies on serverless. We do GraphQL APIs using AppSync, REST APIs using API Gateway, but it also goes much beyond that with queues, with SQS. We'll not get into these details today, but there's so many services in AWS that can use to build uh, basically anything without having to write almost any code. And that's
Yeah,
what's amazing about serverless.
that's incredible. And when it comes to serverless, why do you think it's such a valuable skill for people to have? Like, why do you care about the education of other people with serverless?
Yeah. Serverless is an easy way to build something very, very quickly without having to go into the details of maintaining stuff yourself, like servers, of course, first of all, and different services. Since you have different building blocks, it's like Lego, right? You can build something by putting together small services, small pieces of software that is maintained for you. It scales for you. You don't have to worry about scalability. If you receive today 0 requests, you won't pay anything. If tomorrow you get 1 million, well, you will scale. So it's a way to really quickly build some very simple applications without having to worry about many stuff. So that's what is actually great about it for beginners, especially because you don't have to really worry about learning so many stuff and build it yourself, because so many things could go wrong if you try to do it yourself everything. Like authentication, like it's a big thing, right? But with Cognito in AWS, it comes out of the box. It just works.
Yeah, I completely agree. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and actually get started with coding. I haven't used AWS before, so would you mind kind of walking me through the process of getting started?
Yeah. So the first thing you would need to do is create an account.
Okay,
I don't know if you want to do that now or.
I will go ahead and do that now, yes. So I'm just going to go to AWS, and you can let me know where to go. So just create an AWS account, get started
Yes.
for free. Okay, so there's a lot going on over here. Do I just create a free account here? Oh, you can't
Yeah.
see my screen. My bad.
I
There you go. Okay,
create a free account.
so I will use my work email. Account name. Oops. Verify email address. Okay, cool. Let me go through the verification process. And while we're doing that, do you want to give us an overview of what type of project we're going to be building today?
Yeah. So today I suggest that we build or try to build a GraphQL API using a service called AWS AppSync, which is a fully maintained and fully serverless GraphQL service by AWS. It's fully serverless, as I said. You will pay only for the requests that you make and the resources that it consumes. So it could be a Lambda function. So if you use a Lambda function as your resolver, you will pay for the execution of the Lambda function. If you use DB as your database, you will also pay for that. But it will scale as you get to more and more requests per second. I think that AWS AppSync scales without any problem up to 2,000 requests per second. And after that, you can request a quote increase. Maybe a quick words about what GraphQL is as well. So GraphQL is a query language for APIs. So if you know what REST is, it's basically an extension of REST, but it's based on REST. But it allows you to query your data and explore your data as a graph. So you will be able to imagine that you have an application that does an e-commerce, right? You have a user, you have orders, you have order items, maybe the user has some addresses. So in a traditional REST API, usually you would have an API endpoint for the user, one for the orders, maybe one for the addresses of the user. And there are two problems with that. And the first one would be that if you need an order and then get the user details, you would have to first call the orders endpoint, then get the user ID, and then with the user ID, get the user, and maybe from the user, you will need to get the addresses and do another request as well. So that's what we call underfetching, because one request, one call to the API only returns part of what you actually need in the UI, in the front end. The second problem with REST is traditionally that let's say you call the user endpoint, you will get the username, the email address, maybe the description, the biography or something, but the only thing you really need is the ID and the name. So all that extra data will travel over the wire back to the UI, and the UI will just say, I don't need that, let's ditch that. But it still has to travel through the internet, and it basically just makes your request a bit slower. And that's the problem we called overfetching, because at this time you get too much data. GraphQL pretends to solve these problems in two ways. The first one is that you can actually do one single request and get everything you need in one go, right? You can say, okay, I want the user, I want the order, I want the user's profile, and I want the order items in one single go. But you can also say, okay, well, from the user, I just need the name and the ID. I don't need the biography. So that will not actually be returned by the backend. It will not go through the wire at all. One great feature as well about GraphQL is subscriptions. So imagine that you have an order, the user is placing an order, and your backend is actually processing the payment. What you can do with GraphQL is create a subscription, which is a publication subscription feature that allows you or the client to say, okay, well, I have that order I just placed. I want to know when it's fulfilled or when it's paid. So the client will actually start a subscription and wait for the backend to send the notification directly to the UI. That avoids you to actually do some tricks like do some polling every second or every 5 seconds. It's instantaneous. And with AWS AppSync, it's fully managed as well. It's fully maintained. You don't have to worry about anything. Under the hood, it uses WebSockets. You don't have to maintain those connections. Everything is maintained.
Gotcha. And what are some use cases where you would want to use GraphQL as example projects versus like a REST API?
Right. I think GraphQL fits very, very well for UI, for web and mobile applications, because they usually return a JSON or a structure of the data as the front end expects it. REST, on the other hand, I think is still a great fit for backend to backend communication, so service to service, but not necessarily for the UI, where GraphQL really shines.